All right, folks, we're coming to you live here because we're getting updates when it comes to the war that has just broke out. And thanks to Dead Man Lives, who pointed this out to me that they were striking in Iran. So we're going to be looking at this statement from President Donald Trump that came out just an hour ago. And so I'm coming to you guys live. I want to know you guys' thoughts concerning this. What do you guys are hearing? We'll try to do our best to report it here live on the broadcast. And of course, we're going to be keeping up with some of the updates coming in on this. Welcome back, bro. Yeah, so strikes are happening in Iran. This is going to be a different type of stream here. And we're just looking at some updates concerning this. This is New York Times live updates. We're looking at what's going on here. So it says President Trump announced on Saturday, that is today, that the United States had launched a major attack on Iran and vowed that he would devastate the country's military. Now, there has been some strikes on Iranian officials. Here's some information, some data here. This is Israel and U.S. launch strikes on Iran as Tehran prepares for retaliation. So they're already preparing for retaliation. They've named this Operation Epic Fury. So it says Israel carried out a preemptive strike to move threats, with Israeli officials saying operations was coordinated with United States and planned for months. Remember that they moved everything into position. They've been talking about that the ships were headed out and departed, that they would arrive any moment now, basically. So it says blasts were reported in Tehran, Tabriz, Qom, I think it is called, maybe Karaj, a couple different spots, Ilam, that's interesting, and other cities. Iran's Supreme Leader's office in Tehran was targeted. That's also interesting. It says, and Iran closed its airspace for 6 hours. ISNA reported thousands of IRGC members killed. Wow, already. Thousands of IRGC members killed or wounded in attacks on military sites, while an Iranian official told Reuters the response would be crushing. So that's the report coming out of Reuters. The U.S. Department named its operation, the Iranian mission, Operation Epic Fury, announced the title on social media post. So Israel tells civilians to remain in shelters. U.S. embassies in Jordan and Bahrain urge citizens to shelter. So it's all going down, folks. Let's look at this live broadcast from President Donald Trump just moments ago. What's going on here? Let me see if I can. Here we go.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon.
By the way, breaking news, this is Bahrain sounds air raid sirens over Iranian strike on U.S. bases. Bahrain activated air raid sirens to warn of an Iranian attack on U.S. military bases in the Persian Gulf state, the Interior Ministry said on Saturday. Arabic media reported that the Iranian attack had begun with explosions heard and smoke seen from the capital, Manama. So it's on like Donkey Kong. This is Donald Trump continuing to announce what has just went down, and this is going to be a bigger, broader conflict here. Now, whether it's going to be deemed a war, we don't know yet. But you say, yes, America, a country of peace, starting beef again. It's like hearing my kid's 3rd grade class reciting an essay. Well, welcome to your 3rd grade class.
I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. and we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way.
Breaking, we have Bahrain says U.S. Fifth Fleet Service Center targeted by missile. Bahrain said that the service center of the U.S. Fifth Fleet was subject to a missile attack, the state news agency reported on Saturday.
And we trust that with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity.
Breaking, this is 2 minutes ago. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, I said corpse, I pronounced the P. Corps said in the statement on Telegram that it had launched a wave of missiles and drones on Israel in retaliation to the strike. So, prior to when they were struck during the Operation Midnight Hammer, we actually saw that Iran didn't immediately strike. And here they're taking immediate action. 6 minutes ago, it says 2 weeks ago, Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, told me he expected it would be weeks, not months, before the United States launched an attack aimed at toppling the Iranian government. That prediction appears to have been correct. He said in an interview at that time that Israel can't do it by themselves, and the United States should have our fingerprints on this operation. Hence why they mentioned, actually, it was, I think, Marco Rubio who said that the officials should refrain from saying anything regarding these talks, and possibly due to what Lindsey Graham was saying 2 weeks ago, is probably why they issued that statement.
Or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran,
that's crazy.
I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all.
Unleash
Thank you.
the prosperous.
Guys, I want to know your thoughts concerning this this news that we are witnessing here and what's breaking. Please let me know in the chat so I can get you guys' thoughts concerning this. Now, of course, all of this is updating as we see here. Let's see if there's any other updated information as we keep on going through some of these sources. So just now, internet connectivity in Iran has plummeted to just 4% of usual levels. According to the monitoring group NetBlocks, Iranians only just have emerged from a long-running internet and communications blackout imposed by the authorities last month during the state crackdown on nationwide protests during the war with Israel and the United States last June. Iranians also went for days without regular internet access. Now, it's also I'm also curious to know if Elon Musk is going to come through with Starlink again, as he had sent it out the first time because of the blackout. Now, we weren't. The purpose of this, of course, was to help with the fact that the government does this, where they will block out to sort of confuse the media to not have the reports from the ground. And so this is what we're seeing. This is all the news that we're. Let's see here. The news that's breaking. I want to know your guys' thoughts concerning this. Let's go to TBN.
Closed to civilian flights, and also hospitals are shifting into an emergency format. And from the American side, President Donald Trump released a recorded statement and said they will never have a nuclear weapon. We tried again and again to make a deal.
Here's a minute ago, breaking. Bahrain State News Agency said that the service center of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet had been subject to a missile attack. Several witnesses in Jafar, a district of the Bahraini capital, Manama, home to the naval base, reported hearing a loud explosion. So possible strikes were maybe have successfully landed. I don't know. Not sure exactly. And obviously, I don't mean success in a good way. That's not what I'm communicating here.
A harsh message to those on the front lines, Revolutionary Guard, what actually is happening on the ground. So we don't know what's happening, but we have more information that is coming in. And this is an operation that is built over months under a veil of secrecy, compartmentalization, briefings, and timing that chose to surprise and disrupt the response of the Iranians against Israel and against the United States. The question now is simple. Will Iran manage to produce a significant retaliatory barrage already in the first wave?
Here we go. We have breaking news. Iranian state news agency IRNA has now twice announced the safety of the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, I think, at a time when there is still a great amount of confusion over who or what has been hit. This is all on the heels of just everything. There's going to be a lot of confusion. There's not going to be a lot of, accurate reporting until sort of the dust settles. Now, we're seeing from some of the reports here, some of the updates is from the New York Times. The updates earlier said that there were thousands that had been hit. And you're hearing the sirens in Israel as well.
Every other minute, there are more sirens alarms of incoming missiles.
Several Iranian news outlets have reported strikes on the gated compound where both the president, Masoud, and Iranian supreme leader normally reside.
For my family, pray for the U.S. personnel that are in this region, that are risking their lives, defending all of us. Again, this is defending all of us against the threats of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And also, I want you to pray for the Iranian people. I'm praying for them. Many of them are watching us. Many of them are praying for Israel.
Here's an article here. It says the scope and scale of the coordinated strikes by the United States and Israel against Iran have begun early on Saturday, appear to be far more extensive than the military operation ordered by President Trump against Iran last June. With Mr. Trump saying, funny that they say Mr. Trump, President Trump saying the new campaign would be massive. In the initial wave, the U.S. carried out dozens of strikes with attack planes launched from the bases around the Middle East and from one or more aircraft carriers. A United States official said the warplanes are part of the largest U.S. military buildup since the Iraq War in 2003, and the development includes 2 aircraft carriers, a number of naval destroyers, and more than 50 fighter planes. The focus of the American strikes for the for the moment is military targets in Iran. Notice how there's military targets in Iran, and in Israel or with the U.S. embassies, there's civilian targets. This is what they do. They don't target military. They don't target necessarily or solely, exclusively military targets. They target civilians also. So, yes, of course, the embassies involving government officials, but not even government officials, but government employees. How would you? What's even the proper term there? U.S. Embassy soldiers, and it seems like they're going to a break there. So it says, "We're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground," President Trump vowed in an 8-minute video posted on social media early Saturday. Says the president suggested that the aim was to destroy much of Iran's substantial military capacity. And it says, "We are going to annihilate their navy," Trump said. "We are going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs." By the way, I want to know your guys' thoughts and comments. Please consider subscribing. And of course, let me know your thoughts. You say, why did he have to do it this way? Why did who have to do it? President Trump? If that's what you're referring to, you say it's Ramadan right now for the Muslims. Let's see here. Yeah, and we also have to remember that what's interesting is that this is also on the heels of Purim, which is a Jewish holiday, and this deals with the story in Esther. We're going to we're gonna keep on with updates here. Let's see here.
Troops out of forever wars. He doesn't want to put boots on the ground. He made it clear that it would be up to the Iranian people to do that. Remember,
We join you right now with breaking news from the Middle East. Israel has launched preemptive airstrikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran, going after a variety of positions inside the country. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz declaring a special state of emergency across the country. Just moments ago, air raid sirens were sounding.
And by the way, you're right, Ralph. War takes no holidays. It's funny because if you look at Ilhan Omar's ex post, she talks about the fact that it's such a bad thing. Like, this is the stance she's really going to take concerning these strikes here. Let's look at that for a moment. Ilhan Omar's response, she is so dumb. Iraq was attacked by the U.S. By the U.S. during Ramadan, and it's sickening to know that the U.S. is again going to attack Iran during Ramadan. First of all, she said Iraq was attacked by the U.S. Iraq and Iran are two different places. So, two different countries. Iraq, Iran. Okay, so she says, again, and during Ramadan. Let's play, hold on. Let's play here.
Here in Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv and across major population centers here in the Middle East, warning civilians to stay close to protected areas.
So, by the way, let me go back there for the ex post really quick. So she says again, right? They're going to attack Iran again. But she said Iraq in the first place. So she is such a gaslighter. Such a gaslighter. Anyway, the U.S. apparently loves to strike Muslim countries. Yeah, so that's blatantly false during Ramadan. And I am convinced it isn't that what these countries have done to violate international law, but about who they worship. She clearly has no understanding in politics at all. She's so ignorant to understand the geopolitics of the Middle East. And she comes from the Middle East, in a sense, right? From Somalia, which is way down in the southern tip of, no, not even the southern tip. What is that? The eastern part of Africa.
Bomb shelters, understanding that in the minutes and hours ahead, Israel may come under direct Iranian attack. We are getting a new statement from Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz. He says, in part, the state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz declares a special and immediate state of emergency across the entire country. The state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to remove threats to the state of Israel. As a result, a missile and UAV drone attack is expected against the state of Israel and its civilian population.
And mind you, this was 2 hours ago. So here's some more updates concerning this. This is Iranian targets U.S. bases across Persian Gulf states. IRGC-aligned outlet says the Iranian targeted U.S. military bases across Persian Gulf states, including the facilities in Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. The IRGC-aligned Fars News agency reported on Saturday. Here's another statement here that says, this was 4 minutes ago, Iran decries attacks, vows response as it appeals to Security Council. Iranian's foreign ministry on Saturday condemned U.S. and Israeli military aggression against the Islamic Republic, accusing Washington and Israel of launching airstrikes on defense infrastructure and civilian sites in several cities, which is false. Not in civilian cities. They are specifically focusing on military. Now, mind you, this is what Iran likes to do. This is what their proxies do. This is a part of their goal, their mission here. And what they do is they plant military bases in civilian areas. I'm going to play this clip. One sec, guys.
In the immediate time frame. Remember, there has been an ongoing U.S. military buildup across the region for the past 2 months. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is now just off the coast of Israel, near to the northern city of Haifa. You have the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group in the Arabian Sea, a variety of U.S. destroyers in locations across the region. And of course, U.S. fighter jets, not only here in Israel, but also in places like Jordan. You heard just last night President Trump talking about what he prefers, a peaceful and diplomatic path that was offered to the Iranians, understanding, though, that they have been incredibly difficult in the past to reach agreements with. And while the president sent his negotiators to the region, to Oman, and then ultimately to Geneva, Switzerland over the past month, both U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner, ultimately the coordination was happening at the highest level, we understand, between the Americans and the Israelis if a decision was made to launch such a strike. And so we are waiting to get additional information from Israeli and American sources to determine what exactly has taken place. But I'm going to give you all of the updates that we are getting in right now as we receive them. We understand, according to the transportation minister of Israel, that Israel has now closed its airspace to civilian flights. Again, this is a precaution, understanding that the Israelis now are bracing for a variety of incoming possible ballistic missile and UAV attacks against their country. Remember, we were reporting here live during the 12-day war last June as the Israelis and the Iranians exchanged blows. And the Iranians have the ability to launch ballistic missiles. They take about 12 minutes to get to Israel, and they can cause significant damage to major population centers here. We also know that Israel has a variety of air defense systems at its ability, and some of those include the short-range systems, the Iron Dome system, the Arrow system, and also David's Sling. You also have Patriot missile defense systems and THAAD systems provided by the Americans that were deployed here in preparation for the possibility that a decision was made to strike Iran. understanding that there will be a response, as we saw over not just during the 12-day war, but also when the Israelis and the Iranians in 2024 exchanged blows 2 separate times in the spring of that year and also in October of that year. Again, if you are just joining us right now, we are reporting live from the Middle East, where Israel has made a decision to launch preemptive airstrikes against Iran amid the backdrop of a massive U.S. military buildup across the region. A special state of emergency has been declared across Israel. Israel's Defense Minister, Israel Katz, is urging all civilians to head to bomb shelters immediately. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
So some of the updates here are the ministry called on the United Nations. Hold on one second. The ministry on the United Nations and the Security Council to take immediate action over what it described as a clear act of armed aggression, and urged UN member states, particularly countries in the region and members of the non-aligned movement, to condemn the strikes. And so here's another quote. It says, "The time has come to defend the homeland," the statement said, adding that Iran's armed forces would respond with full power under what it described as legitimate right to self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. 9 minutes ago, this says Israeli Air Force launches extensive strikes in western Iran. The Israeli Air Force is carrying out a wide wave of airstrikes against Iranian military targets in western Iran. Now, here's the play on words from the Iranian. Iranian leaning the IRGC aligned news is going to say that they're conducting strikes on civilians, on Iranian civilians. That's not true. That is not true. And so what they're doing is they're striking Iranian military targets in western Iran, the Israeli military said. And of course, the reports from what is being reported out of U.S. news outlets. Birth pains, absolutely, you're right. Here's a new update. Let's see here. This is Iran Security Council warns strikes may continue, advise public to stay calm. Wow, really? That's crazy. So it says Iran's Supreme National Security Council said on Saturday that the country's armed forces have begun a crushing response after. It's so interesting because we see what they did to the civilian population, that the threat here is the Iranian regime, as if they're going to say, hey, stay calm, we're going to protect you. That is hogwash. They're literally telling their civilians to stay calm. Such evil leaders. In its first statement following the attacks, the council said the strikes were carried out during negotiations and accused Washington and Israel of attempting to pressure Iran through military action. It said operations by the United States and Israel. So they become the victim here. They become the victim. It's typical. It's not new tactics. There's some more breaking news here. So it says the council said the government had made prior arrangements to ensure supplies of essential goods and urged people to avoid crowding shopping centers. It added that schools and universities would remain closed until further notice. Government offices would operate at 50% capacity, and banks would continue providing services. Those are the updates thus far. Let's see what other updates we have. Israeli military said it is conducting a further wave of wide-ranging strikes. Yep, we saw that. Here's a quote here. The greatest test of history has arrived, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said in a lengthy statement in response to the attacks. It accused the United States of once again launching an attack while the two sides were in negotiations. We saw that President Trump was saying that they don't want to come to to the negotiator. They want to negotiate. They don't want to negotiate. They want to make a deal. They don't want to make a deal. That's what he said. And we watched that literally in the last broadcast just a couple of hours ago on this show. And it says and we're not going to believe the Iranian regime. We're just not going to. You know why? Because they peddle a bunch of lies. That's what they do. And Zach, you're saying you are so green with your political garbage. What's so green here? We're literally reporting the news that is coming in. What is so green here? You have a debate, a statement, make it. Just make it. If you have nothing to say, don't say anything at all. Because you look terrible. It says here, the people of Iran are proud that they did everything possible to prevent war. That's their quote. It said, just as we were ready for negotiations, we are more prepared than ever to defend the Iranian nation. That is a wild statement from the Iranian regime. Let's see. Further information says the region was broadly on edge over the potential scope of retaliation from the attack. Jointly coordinated with Israel, Iran fired missiles at Israel, prompting huge booms overhead as Israeli Air Force defenses sought to intercept them. Air raid sirens blared in Bahrain, where there are American bases, while the U.S. embassies in Jordan, Qatar, or Qatar, as people like to say, and the United Arab Emirates directed all staff to shelter in place and recommended that all Americans in those countries do the same. Here's another update. It says Lebanon's top leaders on Saturday called on all parties to prioritize the welfare of the country and its citizens as strikes in Iran began. The remarks appeared directed at Hezbollah as questions persist over whether the weakened Iranian-backed group might somehow enter the conflict in support of Iran.
Meantime, our Lucas Tomlinson is available to us. Lucas, this has been somewhat telegraphed. We thought there would likely be some kind of kinetic action in the Middle East, and it appears that the Israelis have made the first strike. What can you tell us?
John, U.S. and Israeli forces have launched a surprise daytime attack against Iran. Officials confirmed to me this strike was conducted at about 10 a.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. local time in Iran. What's very unique about this strike is that it was done during the day. Typically, U.S. forces and Israeli forces operate at night. If you remember 8 months ago for Midnight Hammer, those strikes taking place in the middle of the night. Those were, of course, using B-2 stealth bombers. It's notable, John, we talked about this last week, that the thing to watch for with this strike is where are the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptors, those fifth-generation stealth fighter jets. Those arrived in Israel for the first time. They'd ever been deployed there. They arrived in Israel yesterday with a fleet of tankers. And while it's not confirmed that F-22s were used in this particular strike, it is notable the deployment of that weapon system. We also saw massive evacuations of U.S. embassies, consulates, and U.S. forces throughout the Middle East in the lead up to this attack. Those were the two indicators that, and of course, the breakdown of the negotiations between the United States and the Iranian side that led to this surprise daytime attack.
Now, what's interesting is, based on one of the comments that people are talking about here, in that the Democrats are saying that Obama and the deal that he made worked absolutely perfectly. There was no issues between them, between the U.S. and Iran. The problem is that Obama enabled Iran to enrich uranium, and they went well above the percentage that they weren't to accumulate to build nuclear arsenals. And so the problem here that people begin to the lies that people begin to ingest from the Democrat Party solely lies on these claims that Obama made a deal and it was really good, that we should have just kept that deal and renewed the deal. The JCPOA and what Biden did during his term, none of this was going to work out ever. So if we allowed Iran to enrich their uranium, they've been trying and attempting to to obtain nuclear weapons. The same was the case with North Korea. And once they obtained North Korea, they started testing. And now it's a lot more difficult with the situation with North Korea because of what they do with their nuclear arsenals and what they begin to continue testing. And we saw that Trump told Little Rocket Man to stop firing his nukes, to stop testing his nukes. And you don't see any of that happen. But under Joe Biden, what did you begin to have? We saw continuous nuclear testings from North Korea. So clearly you saw the difference in power and authority when it comes to who was running the U.S.
Yeah, I've been telling people that if there were going to be a U.S. military attack against Iran, and I want to be clear, so far from what we know, this is an Israeli attack. But I suggested that it would happen on a moonless night, and we are not at that moment in the lunar cycle. So yes, when you say this has been a rare and unusual daytime attack, I suppose it maybe gives the Israelis an element of surprise, because, as you say, in the past they have been nighttime attacks, and the Iranians maybe they had their forces on lower alert during daytime hours.
There's no question. It's notable, John, that we're in the holy month of Ramadan. It's a month of prayer and fasting for many of the Iranian people. No doubt that it played a role in these strikes. And when you talked about the illumination, John, correct, the optimal time for a U.S. military strike or with the Israeli forces would be a new moon or very little illumination in the sky. But that, officials told me from the start, that was never a showstopper. The U.S. and Israeli forces can operate in all kinds of conditions, and it appears those
breaking loud explosions heard in Tehran, local media say. Israeli military urges Iranians near military sites to evacuate, because that's where they place these military sites. They place them directly in civilian population. So in a Persian language spokesman, Lieutenant Kamal Penhasi said, calling on civilians to evacuate and stay away until further notice. Your presence in these areas puts your lives at risk. That's the report there. So Iranian skies empty after strikes as regional states close airspace. Air France said it would cancel flights to and from Tel Aviv and Beirut planned for February 28th. Hungarian low-cost carrier Wizz Air suspended all flights to and from Israel, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Amman until March 7th. Dang, so they're anticipating quite a long conflict here. March 7th, that's literally more than, that's a whole week there. So they'll let things cool down. So let's see any other reports have come in. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency reported that Iranian missile strikes targeted U.S. military bases around the region, including Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, Ali Al Shem Air Base in Kuwait, Al Dhafara Air Base in the United Arab Emirates, and the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. So those are so far the updates that we have.
Conditions were set and ripe, and a lot of it had to do with the failed negotiations in Geneva on Thursday. But it's certainly unique. And just to confirm, John, this is a combined U.S. and Israeli strike on Iran, officials say.
And so we're looking live at one column of smoke, significant column of smoke that is rising over Tehran. Do you have any sense the extent of this first strike from the Israeli?
Here's some more breaking news. It says UAE intercepts several Iranian missiles. State news agency says the United Arab Emirates intercepted several Iranian missiles, and state news agency reported on Saturday. It says here one person was killed in Abu Dhabi, according to the reports. President Trump did say that there will be casualties as a result of this conflict here.
As the map that we have on our screen shows, There are nuclear facilities scattered all over Iran.
Check this out as we let this news report sort of play on. Check this.
24 hours.
The Iranian sky is literally closed.
So
You see that big empty hole?
I guess is what I'm
I
asking.
mean, it's pretty obvious. You can't see it.
Well, it's not clear what the targets are now. We are seeing the column of smoke, as you're pointing out on the screen right now, in Tehran, the capital of Iran. Officials said the initial strikes would most likely be targeting command and control radar installations and perhaps some targets associated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the RGC. Iranian officials have said that the Ayatollah Khamenei is not inside Tehran. We'll wait to see what this initial target set was, John. But officials have told me from the beginning that the initial strikes would be targeting radar installations and command and control. And as you've seen with these, as Trey reported, the sirens throughout Israel will be bracing, and all U.S. forces.
Now, Iran is honestly probably so discombobulated right now because of what is happening. They're getting attacked on with two major players here.
The first word that came across the wire services was that these were Israeli-only attacks, Israeli preemptive attacks against the Iranians. But the U.S., Lucas, we are told, is participating, and that's no great surprise.
No, and officials told me the same thing, John, at the start of this broadcast, that this was a combined U.S. and Israeli strike against Iran. And just going back to that F-22 deployment, never in history have U.S. F-22s been deployed to the state of Israel. And just last weekend, we were saying that 4 days before Operation Midnight Hammer, 8 months ago, those F-22s deployed to the region. They're always the last asset to be deployed. We saw it 8 months ago at Midnight Hammer. The F-22s, along with F-35s, were the first over the beach to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. And it appears perhaps something similar occurred today, but it was to see those F-22s on the ramp along with 14 refueling tankers. Remember, John, we have 100 aerial refueling tankers in the Middle East right now. That's double what we had for Operation Midnight Hammer. And
so generally when you see air refuelers and you see a huge influx of them, typically is when you see big responses like this because they need to refuel their here we go. This is interesting.
Live in Israel and has some breaking news for us now. Trey.
Yeah, John, air raid sirens just sounded across Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city. The Iranians have started their response. I just received a text message from a source in Tehran who said Iran is firing back. The sirens that sounded across Tel Aviv were a signal of incoming ballistic missile fire towards central Israel. We also understand, according to sources in Haifa in northern Israel, the country's third largest city, that there is missile fire toward that city, but no impacts reported. At least 2 interceptions are being reported on Israeli media. But again, at this moment, John, the latest information that we can bring to you is that air raid sirens just sounded across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Alerts going out on the phones. And I can see the local news in Israel right now, and there are alerts going one after another. Many of them in the West Bank and close to the city of Jerusalem as well. But again, this is a very fluid situation, but an indication that the Iranians have started their response. President Trump, as he said before, that there is going to be an ongoing and massive operation against the Iranians. That likely includes striking some of these missile launching positions, as many as possible, understanding that the Iranians could respond not just against U.S. forces near Iran, but also against Israel. And that is what this country is dealing with at the moment. The air defense systems here remain on high alert, and those special instructions this morning went out to civilians telling them to remain in bomb shelters. And even just context now in the city of Haifa, sending photos from bomb shelters. And the sirens that sounded just a few moments ago, we are learning from Israeli media right now, John, that one missile was intercepted, fired toward central Israel, but again, successfully intercepted. The fact that these missiles are being fired in 1 and 2 missile volleys is an indication that the Iranians may have been hit quite hard when it comes to their missile launching positions. Back during the 12-day war, sometimes they were firing dozens of missiles, even over 100 at a single time. And so we have to see how all of this plays out. But again, President Trump indicating this is going to be an ongoing and massive operation. The Iranians were given a diplomatic opportunity, and they did not take it. John?
Guys, thanks for joining the broadcast. If you haven't yet subscribed to the show, as we begin to unpack some of the breaking news that is coming out of the Middle East media from Israel's side, from Iranian news outlets here. We're looking at some of the updates, and I'm going to read you some more updates right now. And here we go. Let's continue on with some of these. This is just now breaking. Iranian's Supreme National Security Council released a statement on Telegram. The enemy thinks that the innocent nation of Iran will surrender to their despicable demands. They call themselves innocent. That's wild. That's a wild statement to say. The enemy thinks that the innocent nation of Iran will surrender to their despicable demands with these cowardly actions. It said the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran have launched a crushing response to their vicious actions. Here's also Israel calls up 20,000 reservists, hopes to mobilize 70,000. Wow, that is wild. The Israeli military has called up 20,000 reservists, mainly in the U.S., in the Air Force, not U.S. Air Force, the Israeli Air Force, intelligence decorate, Home Front Command and Navy amid its operation against Iran, adding up to roughly 50,000 already on duty. An Israeli military official said the army hopes to mobilize 70,000 reservists in the coming days, most of them aerial defense units. Wow, this is gearing up to be incredibly massive. Let's see, I think there's a new update here. Germany was informed by Israel in advance of the strikes. A German government spokesman said on Saturday the Chancellor Friedrich Merz is monitoring the development closely and is in close coordination with the European partners. The statement did not express support or opposition to these strikes. Merz is scheduled to meet Trump in Washington next week. Wow. This is CBS News. Not sure what they're reporting. That's an hour ago. I don't think we need to go there. Wow, so many updates, so much. If you guys like, share, and subscribe, we're witnessing an unprecedented turn in the Iranian regime, where we're possibly going to be looking at a regime change here. The 501 Hifi, I think it's pronounced, I'm not sure. Thank you for your wonderful gift. God bless you. And that is amazing. It says they are innocent. What are you talking about? The Iranian people are innocent, but the Iranian regime, the IRGC, is not. Let's see what CBN is reporting here concerning this breaking news.
Which would buy their loyalty. And in Iran, the IRGC, we're not talking about thousands, we're talking about over 10,000. And so those guys are the only people in Iran that have a vested interest in seeing the regime continue. And so getting those guys out of the way is going to require much more than a bombing campaign. It's not something we can bomb our way out of.
Here, this is a new update. It says airstrikes hits Iraqi base hosting pro-Iran militia. AFP, it says an airstrike targeted an Iraqi military base. Israeli strikes, the Iranian source close to the establishment told Reuters on Saturday.
Really what needs to happen, because it's not going to be U.S. troops that are going to be deployed on the Iranian soil.
Yeah, and I talked yesterday with former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Danny Ayalon. We talked about that, and he was thinking that maybe there will be some cracks in the IRGC or other.
Check this out. This is a video coming out of Tehran showing traffic backed up. And let's take a look here. Let's see if we have any. I don't know if we're going to have any audio here. Yeah, so it says witnesses in the outskirts of Tehran shared a video showing, and you can see the terrible qualities because there's no internet there. So maybe Elon Musk sent over some, I don't know, maybe I'm curious to see if he sent anything on X. If anybody knows, please let me know in the chat. It says here, on the outskirts of Tehran, shared a video showing the Satari Expressway out of the city from the west, now choked with traffic, suggesting people are trying to flee the capital. Wow. Interesting. So Iranian military spokesperson here said, "We will teach Israel." This is wild. Hear this. Iranian military spokesperson said, "We will teach Israel and America a lesson they have never experienced in their history." Whoa. Whoa. Okay. What is that? What are they implying here? I mean, we're talking about that they have missiles that can destroy an aircraft carrier. Will they attempt to do this? According to a statement published on semi-official news agency FARS, any base that helps America and Israel will be the target of Iranian armed forces. See, YouTube Punk, the problem that you're not seeing here is wow, I'm astounded by your comment here. You're saying Iran forever? Are you like, hold on here. Hold on for a second. Do you not want the people to be free, the people of Iran to be free from the regime that is in control, that is slaughtering the Iranian people? Do you even live in Iran? Have you ever been to Iran? I haven't. But clearly I can see from an outside perspective that these people are oppressed to the max. So God bless Donald Trump for putting the Iranian people in this moment to take over the regime forever. At least forever. As long as they want freedom, they need to do and they need to act now. But my guess is that they're trying to get the Ayatollah out of harm's way if he hasn't already been dead at this moment. And by the way, as I mentioned earlier, if you weren't listening, YouTube Punk, you weren't here earlier from when I said that this is an ongoing conflict because of the promises that have been made to the United States time and time again by Iran that they will not acquire nuclear warheads, that they're only enriching uranium for the fact, for literally nuclear energy, not nuclear weapons, nuclear energy. That is freaking wild. That is freaking wild. You see, you're delulu if you think that is what this is about. That is one of the reasons. It's mainly about the nuclear facilities, the enrichment of uranium. So there you go. We had a deal. They broke that deal, and they continue to break that deal because they continued to enrich uranium beyond what they were allowed to. You're saying this has nothing to do with Iranian people? Then you absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. That's crazy. Which country is the only country to have used nuclear weapons on human history? The same country is now making rules. Yeah. Was probably a mistake? Yeah, probably. But you're acting as if that was Donald Trump doing that, because that's what people will equate it to. Yes, I've been there. And so you have no sympathy for the Iranian people? None whatsoever? Where do you live right now? You live in the U.S.? Free Palestine? Yeah. Classic. I saw a sticker on somebody's car, and it said to deport Trump and keep illegal immigrants in. Yeah, legit. That's legit. Trump pulled out of the deal? Really? Who are you going to believe? The Iranian media? Is that who you're going to believe? Really? The ones who literally call for the death of America? All right. Senior Revolutionary Guard commanders killed in U.S. strikes. Yeah, we saw that. So let's continue on with some updates here. It says Syria's Civil Aviation Authority announced on Saturday that it would close the country's southern air corridors for 12 hours starting noon local time. During the closure, air traffic will be redirected along approved alternative routes, the agency said in a statement on social media. This is building up into a bigger, broader conflict.
Iranian assassination plot. Even President Trump was the subject of one of those. My friend Oliver North had to leave his house in a hurry. This is back in the 1990s because there was an Iranian cell coming to murder him and his family. And they got out just before the cell got there. So we know that they exist. But the question is, so what is the profit for Iran in doing that? They're already getting the worst of this attack, and they're fighting back. But they really are not likely to be able to have any kind of victory over the United States and Israel. I mean, they're completely outclassed by our weaponry. And so if they were to strike inside the United States, you can imagine how that would galvanize the American people against Iran and even more. And so my guess is that Iran is going to try to go the Gaza route and do what the Palestinians have done by trying to appeal to the left wing of the around the world, the United Nations and everything, and say, oh, they're murdering all of our civilians and everything like that. And I think that attacking...
By the way, you say, I don't blame Iran for wanting nukes. It's why we leave North Korea alone. No, I think the problem is that the Iranian regime, the Ayatollahs, and when they make statements like death to America, if they obtain it, you think they won't utilize that? They will be the second nation. They will be the second nation. They chant all day long in their little closed meetings, their public meetings. What will they say? What will they chant? Death to America, death to Israel. They have to take America out. Why? It has to be them first, because if they take America out, they can take Israel out because they will have that much less of a help. Now, the problem that they don't understand is that God is the God of Israel, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God will not allow Israel to die, to cease from being a nation, to remove all people from the land. They will seek to try to do so. They will not be successful. You say, what if Russia and China helps Iran? It's going to be a very, it's. I guess you could say it's possible they are already helping them. You're saying they actually get involved with, using their. This will probably be an all-out war, because then we'll see the Article 5 be invoked immediately from the NATO. The NATO deal, right? Article 5 will be invoked. And so you'll have other nations join in. So that would be quite a scary scenario there. But otherwise, let's hope that doesn't happen. Now, they're already helping. How? They're helping because they supplied Iran with, they already supplied Iran. And my camera just died, so we're just going to continue on here, at least for a little moment longer.
Some kind of
going on here. And as it explains here, it says So, son of man, set your face against Gog, towards God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, thus says the Lord God, behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn you about and put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you out and all your army, horses, horsemen, all of them clothed with full armor, with great hosts of them, and with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Persia, that's Iran. Okay, Cush, Put, these are Ethiopia and Ethiopia and Libya are with them. And the shield and helmet, with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah, and the uttermost parts of the north. And so it says here, as you begin to read on, this is incredible, because then it says here in verse 10 through 11 here, thus says the Lord God, on that day thoughts will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme and say, I will go up to the, and let me just show you what's happening here, just so you can get an idea as to what's still being shown, the breaking news. So it says here, and I will say, and say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages. Now this is Gog from the land of Magog, right? On that day, thoughts will come into your mind. Okay. And you will devise an evil scheme and say, I will go up. So now they're backing down. Okay. It says, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghi said, Baghi, is it Baghi? Baghi? I don't know. I'm just going to say Baghi. As also said, Foreign Minister Abbas was alive and well. There's a new update. Breaking rocket attacks target U.S. base in Iraqi Kurdistan. Reuters, it says rockets targeted targeted a U.S. military base in Iraq's Kurdistan region, security sources told Reuters on Saturday. And so let's continue to see what some other breaking news here is coming out of the region. Yeah, there's still, we're still getting live updates here, and wow, incredible, absolutely incredible. Let's see what's going on here.
Israelis focus on decapitating the regime, great. I can just tell you from the people.
And by the way, yes, I agree with you 100%, Peter. America is never mentioned in the Bible. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. It's never mentioned in the Bible. I'm not talking about Western nations as in the United States. It often refers to the British area. So you just got to look up, go back to the scriptures, read these names, and read go back through history as to what these names are referencing. And even some of the modern translations will tell you the modern names of them. Not necessarily Iran. It's going to say Persia, but the other ones like Cush and Put are Libya and Ethiopia are the names that it gives it. If you're going to war, never go by the Bible, go by history and facts. No, this is not why war is conducted. And honestly, this is what God is doing when he's conducting.
Having gone to Iran,
when he's orchestrating these things, these leaders are not going to look to the Bible to see what's going on. Oh, this is what we need to do. They're not going to do that. They don't care. It's not what they care about. And I completely understand you. Yes, America is Edom. I've seen that statement many times, but I don't agree that America is Edom, because you're connecting the Edomites, which comes from Esau. That's from his line, if I'm not mistaken. But you begin to connect these two together based on what people are sort of utilizing on an argument from silence. Right? Edom, the people, the Edomites are Middle Easterners. They're not Westerners. Okay, so we can go through this when we go through script. If we pull up certain scriptures concerning the Edomites, none of this references at all a nation outside of the region, right? Because you have to remember that the focus of the writers are concerning what is happening in that region, as at least what God inspires the writers to write about or prophesy about. Nations in that region, Turkey, Persia, all these nations, which they have ancient names, right? Iraq, Babylon is modern day Iraq. And so you're right in the sense that you say the writers of the Bible didn't know about most of the world. Only their experience was their own country and those around it, proving the Bible is man-made. I agree with the first part of it. However, God is transcendent beyond even nations surrounding Israel. So whatever God wanted them to write about the Bible doesn't have to talk about America for it to be true, first of all. Because the focus is not America. The focus is not how great America of a superpower it is. The focus literally is, and we played that video earlier of Donald Trump, but the focus literally is Israel.
Operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
And by the way, Peter, clearly you don't know history, dude. You don't know history at all.
Among the regime's very first acts was
the Bible. You can talk about the Bible being formulated with these different councils. There's not just the Council of Nicaea. There's many different councils. Not only that, the physical bound book that we have is over years of reading and understanding Scripture and knowing the, discerning the writings of the Scriptures being inspired by God, as we saw what is written by Timothy. Now, everything that has been said, as it says in Hebrews, is the final word has been done by Jesus Christ, Jesus the Christ. Read that in Hebrews. Now, no, Mystery Babylon is not Uncle Sam. What's interesting about Elam, the word Elam here, if we look at a prophecy in Jeremiah, check this out. This is the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning Elam in the beginning of the region of Zedekiah king of Judah. Thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might. Now, Elam is in the same region in modern day Iran, along with the Persians. These two were side by side. Right? So it says the mainstay of their might, and I will bring upon Elam the four winds from the four quarters of heaven. I will scatter them to all those winds, and there shall be no nation to which those driven out of Elam shall not come. So interesting. God scatters them to the nations. And he says here, I will terrify Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their life. I will bring disaster upon them. My fierce anger declares the Lord. I will send the sword after them, and until I have consumed them, and I will set my throne in Elam and destroy their king and officials, declares the Lord. But in the latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord. Could we be witnessing this sort of restoration? This is speculation, but this is just an interesting data point. I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord, in the latter days. And so we are witnessing this war. And so let's see if there's any further updates. It says the Israeli military detects new Iranian missile launch. Interesting. So it detected a new launch of ballistic missiles from Iran on Saturday, with sirens expected to sound in southern Israel. Residents receiving alerts were instructed to enter bomb shelters, the military said. Rocket attack targets U.S. base in Iraqi Kurdistan. Reuters, we already read that. Let's see if there's any other new updates here. An official from Kataib, Hezbollah, an Iraqi militant group allied with Iran, said strikes on the militia's bases in Iraq had killed 3 people. Israel is still assessing the success of its opening strikes, which hit a variety of targets, including figures considered essential personnel in the Iranian war machine, including an Israeli military official who briefed reporters on the condition of anonymity in line of with army rules. The official refused to elaborate on the identity of those targets. He said that Iran had fired dozens of missiles at Israel so far. Wow. Fascinating what we're getting here. Yeah, I want to keep you guys continue to be posted here.
To back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole.
By the way, the 501 Hifi Book of Revelation is the most impossible to interpret book in the entire Bible. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. The Book of Revelation is understood by reading the Old Testament. Go through the Old Testament, skip the New Testament, go straight to the Book of Revelation. You understand it. Not only that, especially pay attention to Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. Not necessarily Jeremiah, but yeah, you can add that into the mix. You can talk about even Daniel. Daniel is key. Daniel is another key to the Book of Revelation. This is not a hard book to read. And not only that, in the beginning of the book, what does it say? It says, blessed are those who hear and those who read. Very important to understand that the Book of Revelation, and it's revelation, not revelation. It's not many. It's not plural. It's singular. Revelation. And the word revelation is apocalypse, right? That's the word there. But you look at the English translation of the word is to uncover, the unveiling, right? So the passage that says here in verse 3 of chapter 1, blessed is he that reads and they that hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein. These are not hard to understand because you have a lot of references to the Old Testament concerning this. And what you'll begin to understand, you just have to go and read the Old Testament. And no, it's not hard to interpret. The Bible will literally interpret itself. Hence, when you look at the very beginning of it, it literally interprets it itself. Literally begins to interpret itself as you begin to see what is. It's not hard to understand because here for example, with the 7 stars, you have what's mentioned here. It says, here's John turning. He says here, I turned to see a voice that was speaking with me, and on turning, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the lampstands, one like the Son of Man, clothed in a long robe and with a golden sash around his chest. The hairs of his head were white, like white wool, like snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze. This is the first description we get of Jesus, but not a physical description as in the color of his skin or anything like that. It's talking about specifically his appearance being with judgment. His feet like burnished bronze refined in a furnace. People use this scripture to show that Jesus was black. That's not what it's talking about. Because if you understand the Old Testament, the meaning behind this burnished bronze, feet and the references to specific things in the Old Testament, you would easily be able to interpret it. It says, and his voice was like the roar of many waters. Same type of description that we hear of God in his voice, how it sounds like. It says, like the roar of many waters. In his right hand, he held 7 stars. From his mouth came a sharp two-edged sword. We know that this sharp two-edged sword is the word. It's not difficult to understand this. His face like the sun shining in its full strength. So in his hand, you're seeing he's holding 7 stars. It's not hard to interpret that because you begin to see the Bible interprets itself. Jesus says, as for the mystery of the 7 stars you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, angels being messenger, okay, or the pastors. The 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. So the menorah that you see behind Jesus as he's in the middle of them, he's in the midst of the churches and he's holding the messengers, the leaders of the church. Literally, it's beginning to interpret itself. So here's some new updates. Says the Pentagon chief, top general monitor Iran operations from Mar-a-Lago. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, are monitoring the U.S. operation in Iran from President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, where Trump is currently located. A person familiar with the matter told Reuters. Interesting. Probably shouldn't have been reported that they are there, but interesting. It says Iran's Revolutionary Guards said all Israeli and U.S. bases in the region have been struck by Iranian missile attacks on Saturday. The guards said the operation would continue relentlessly until the enemy is decisively defeated. Wow, defeating your guys' point on the chat. Wow. You say 7-headed beast, literally no one has an answer. That's literally Satan. Literally talks about the 7-headed beast in the book of Daniel. So don't start. We keep going on this rabbit hole. You're going to continue to learn that it's not hard. Just read it. Just read it. And you're right, Ernelli. Islam starts all wars. They are the religion of the sword. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. That's what the scriptures say. That's what I'm going to hold to. Oh boy. So it says Qatar says it reserves right to respond to Iranian attacks. We read that earlier, as reported by the New York Times. Let's see here. No other latest information. Let's continue with Donald Trump.
Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels.
You want to continue to call me a liar, dude? You're not listening. You are not listening to a word I'm saying at all. At all. You're banned. You're banned. You're put on timeout. Stop the nonsense. Stop calling me a liar because you're not listening to what I'm saying. That's pathetic, dude.
International shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the
attacks have breaking says the attacks appear to have hit a part of Tehran that is home to Iran's former president Mahmoud. A hardliner. The Times have verified videos that show a strike hitting Square 72, a residential area in the Narmak neighborhood where he is known to reside. There's no immediate information as to his whereabouts at the time of the blast. Now, of course, they're not going to just strike in the middle of a civilian population. We saw an earlier video. What is this? We saw an earlier video where you're seeing people flee, civilians flee. It's blocked off. It's absolutely incredible. And let me just show you this for the moment. For the time being, let's see here. This is what you're seeing on the ground. And of course, the internet is just completely choked up there. So this is the Satari Expressway out of the city. The west now choked with traffic, suggesting people are trying to flee the capital. Okay, so as we're looking at some of the updates. Oh, what happened? What's the deal here? Oh, anyway, all right. So let's see, there's some more updates here. So it says, Israel and U.S. launch strikes in Iran as Tehran prepares retaliation. Qatar's foreign ministry condemned missile attacks by the Islamic Republic, describing them as a violation of its sovereignty. On Saturday, the ministry said Doha receives the right to respond to the attacks.
Policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first.
Here, some updates saying satellite imagery shows a black plume of smoke and extensive damage at the secure compound of the Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, Iranian's supreme leader in Tehran, though his whereabouts are unclear. The image taken by Airbus on Saturday morning. They are going all out. Serpent Bloodline, welcome. Okay, so it says shows the collapsed buildings at the complex, which typically serves as Mr. Khomeini's residence and main premises for hosting senior officials. So that is new. 3 minutes ago, it says about 35 ballistic missiles launched at Israel since morning. Says military, around 35 ballistic missiles have been launched from Iran at Israel since Saturday morning. And the Israeli military said in a preliminary assessment, some were interpreted by air defenses while others hit open areas, with medics reporting one person lightly injured by falling missile or interceptor fragments. And so that's the update currently.
Administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed.
And I find it funny, by the way, because you try to peddle this argument of a man who wouldn't serve his country but willing to sacrifice others for his ego. He's literally serving his country and literally sacrificed himself by putting himself in the most powerful position in the United States of America with four assassination attempts. That is wild. That is wild. Continue to believe the lies and continue to deceive yourself with the nonsense. It's basic common sense. He's literally serving as the commander-in-chief. Go figure. Go figure. That is like common sense has left the building. Wow.
Forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the
By the way, every time your fingers type, you're lying.
alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death.
He's still giving him a
Finally,
chance.
to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
regime is seeing some sort of war fight. We are also seeing here in Israel shrapnel as the issue. So when our phones go off and we see the alarm, of course, it's because there's a missile incoming. But typically, thank God for the Iron Dome and for the U.S. military, they are shooting those missiles down. But there is still a threat of shrapnel hitting innocent bystanders as it falls out of the air. So people are being told to shelter, stay home, stay close to a shelter. We're also seeing now reports that missiles are coming or have been fired at the western Negev region, which is in the southern western part of Israel. Of course, that's also a strategic location for a lot of IDF bases. And then the last bit of news is that Ben Gurion is officially closed until as early as Monday.
Yeah. Well, George, you know, you were asking earlier about maps.
So, guys, we're going to end this broadcast. If you guys want to continue on with some of the updates concerning this, we'll be covering his hand to cover cover and protect the people that are innocent and in harm's way. We don't want to. We don't want to do that. We don't want any folks to. There's obviously going to be casualties. That's the problem. Casualties of a war. This is typically what we see. This is what happens in war, and this is unfortunate. So, Elaine, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. For those that haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And guys, yeah, we want to continue to look at the overwhelming news that is coming here now. I don't see anything updating as of yet. We have no new news that is breaking. And of course, there's going to be something in the next minute or so that we'll see here. And of course, this is what the CBN is reporting. And I think they just ended their broadcast, actually. But otherwise, yeah, we're witnessing a ton. Let's see if there's anything from
Fox News Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin. Jennifer, good morning. The operation has begun, and you have some insight on what may have been some of the initial targeting.
That's right, Griff. But before I get to those initial targets, we can confirm that there were sirens not only in Bahrain, but also Qatar. That is significant because it suggests incoming missiles into both of those countries where the U.S. military has key bases. In Bahrain, of course, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. We are hearing reports that there is smoke rising on the horizon in the vicinity of that base. We also understand that, you know, again, Qatar would be a logical target because Al Udeid would be the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East. They obviously have removed a lot of the airframes and warplanes from that base in anticipation of this. Americans who are living in Bahrain, UAE, Qatar have been told to shelter in place, and the U.S. military had dispersed a lot of its personnel. Remember, there were about 30,000 to 40,000 American troops at bases across the Middle East, but the U.S. military over the last 2 months have been drawing down and reorienting those individuals. Now, here are some of the targets that we can confirm in these.
It's funny that after the strikes, obviously, now Iran is seeking to negotiate. They had the chance. Why didn't they negotiate? It's because they want to, you know, their pride gets in the way, and they want to look like the mean, big, bad guy. They want to look like the one who's tough, not going to back down. All right, guys, we're going to end the broadcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow on tomorrow's stream, and we'll be looking for updates concerning all of this. And so far, no new updates from the reports here. Otherwise, we'll keep it locked here. Subscribe to the podcast. Email me your thoughts, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com, and I'll see you guys in the next broadcast. Of course, just keep it locked here. We'll be updating you guys very soon. Thanks so much for being here.